Okay, so we welcome everybody to another session of Divaan Ishq, and peace and blessings be upon everyone here. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for your presence. Today's topic, just to get right into it, is going to be peace. We're going to be talking about peace, and this is relevant to the collective, everything that's happening, the inner and the outer. And we're going to have Louisa brief us with a few points that we can, you know, use as a sort of starter for our discussion.
I don't know if I'm going to brief with a few points. I have a poem, if that's what you mean.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. Or it's not a poem, actually. It's a text. This is from I don't even know what his given name is. He's just called Dada. He's the founder of a, I guess, cult or some kind of a, yogic sect that one of my friends has been initiated into. And I just saw this and I thought it was relevant. Today you have to create the great universe. And the guiding principle behind it will be that all humans are the progeny of the supreme progenitor, God. Thus, all are his children. All should live together. All will have to live together. Black or white, illiterate or literate, small or tall, all are the children of the same Father, and all will have to live together. There will be unity in the physical realm and also in the psychic realms. But to strengthen this unity still further, there should be a common goal for all the children of the Supreme Father, the merger of all in him. All have come from him, and therefore all will remain together. But this is not sufficient. All have come from him, are in him, and will merge in him. Therefore, all people will have to live together. For you, unity is the natural cause, the natural course, and division is unnatural. You well know that the cosmic energy will not long tolerate what is unnatural. So it is natural for human beings to live together and to make a great universe. By not doing so, by mutual fight, all will be destroyed. This is the law of the universe, Prakriti. Thus, you'll have to remain united. You must create the great universe as soon as possible. There will be peace and happiness in the universe, and with one indivisible ideology, humanity will march ahead. Victory be with you. I don't know if this was from a sermon or from like a satsang or from what this was, but yeah.
Definitely didn't sound like a cult leader. Sounded like, very legit, beautiful share. This reminded me of your recent video, Madiha. The drum, feeling the pain. Reminded me of that right away. It's just like, it's a heavy time right now on the hearts, and we didn't really have anything very explicit to really discuss except for this topic of peace. And it seems like everyone's out of their wits in terms of, what is there to do and what can we do and what can be done. And no matter how loud and how many prayers are sent and how many tears are shed and how much blood is, shed, it seems like nothing is working. So there is that sense of hopelessness. There's a sense of dismay, severe disappointment, disappointment on all levels, from personal to the overall collective, to how people are reassessing their trust in higher authorities, community leaders, people of influence, the governments, our religious leaders as well, those that we perhaps assumed would be on the side of truth and justice. We see a lot of silence. Also in Plain, we see a lot of activism, a lot of movement, a lot of everything coming to life right now. That said, the journey is always inward, and we're always brought back to ourselves, back to our hearts, and back to a lot of questions about ourselves when we see and when we experience the unseeming, the horrific. There's always an element of about, how does that relate to me on an individual level? So maybe we can just begin with what are some of the emotions we have been experiencing individually during this time of collective chaos? If anybody would like to just share, from from the point of the subtle or the awareness to where we're at right now, like how are you from that point to today, if that makes any sense.
In the start, it was just very, very chaotic. And thing is, it's not stopping. So what does that say? What can we, the biggest thing was that bothers me is that now we are witness. And what are we gonna say to God? So that was one thing that was bothering a lot. And then the other thing was that how about we start to work on ourselves? And in the middle of that was a lot of heaviness, extreme heaviness, and hopelessness. So that's what is our role as individuals and the work we need to do with ourselves so that it also creates an effect at the cosmic level, because we are connected. These are the three phases that I saw, I've experienced or felt.
So can you recap that?
Yes, it started off with a lot of heaviness.
Okay.
And
Witnessing, you said witnessing first, right? You said witnessing.
With the heaviness, and that having this inner warrior to fight back any way possible. And then the question of we are witness, what should we do? What as witness, what is our role? We are answerable because we are a witness. God will ask us that you saw and what you did. And then then again this heaviness, and then what is our role as individuals? What can we do as individuals? And then now it's like, how can we make difference by working on ourselves and its effect at the cosmic level.
And at this point, what was your conclusion as to on an individual basis? Was there anything that became conclusive as to?
No, there will not be a conclusion. This is a process that is collective and individual and has to be dealt at individual and collective level. If we think we are going to get zapped in the collective energy, then we need to work on the individual level, because we have responsibilities at the individual end as well. And I think I learned that from Abdul Karim wives, because his parents are in Gaza and he hasn't heard from them. And I was thinking, like, he talks of love, how? So, and there was this also point, I want to adopt any Palestinian or find myself a Palestinian guy. So yeah, so these were the different feelings, and the conclusion, there's no conclusion, there's an ongoing process. And how do we learn to speak of love and feel love despite feeling all this destruction and pain?
Sure. Madiha, is there anything that's something that you'd like to share with us?
Sure. For me, it's been emotionally quite a bit of a roller coaster. A lot of emotions, a lot of ups and downs. The emotions I felt ranged from anger, sadness, feeling awe when I see videos of Palestinians, and their faith and their level of surrender. Disbelief, like how can we do that to ourselves? So this is like looking outward, so right now, like the dominant feeling I have is this feeling of disbelief, especially yesterday, with the UN going with their decision. It's like hope and then disbelief, feeling hopeful and then again disbelief at what's happening. And then my inner process has been, initially I was struggling to find my place in all of this. What is my role? How can I help? What can I do? And I'm at right now, like Mehtab said, I feel like it is a process and there's no one conclusion, but I feel like right now I've come to a point where I feel like I need to connect with my own ancestral medicine. So I've been reading up on ancestral healing and connecting with, like things like the tabla, which I feel like is one form of ancestral medicine for me. connecting with prayer and these rituals and prayers that connect us with, because I feel like for me it's just too much for me as an individual to process and to hold, you know. So I feel like I need the support of community and of my ancestors. Um, so when I connect with prayer, when I connect with ritual, I feel like it becomes a little bit more manageable. Yeah.
I think um there's such intensity on so many levels that um sometimes just going blank and not being able to articulate the emotions that are running, because there is the to-dos that are the necessary of life for each and every one of us. Yet we are witnessing, and do we just continue to witness? But then there is, demands and again, like I said, the to-do. So how do you pause? Do you, because I know a lot of people who have just taken some time out and they've just gone, underground for some time. And for those who can do that, I think that's happening regardless on a day-to-day level, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, we're taking dips. For me, it's been like definitely a witnessing and a great level of mirroring what's happening. Questioning the dynamics of relationships, questioning the myself in my way of being, and question, yeah, basically there's been a lot of questioning, and so there's a lot of conscious monitoring on what we say, what we do, how we interact, a very heightened sense that I'm feeling, because already knowing through awareness, and there's such a high level of awareness that has dawned upon, I think, the collective in terms of, suddenly, like, we're all aware of, the history. It's like, what were we doing before? Right? Like, I know, for example, in my own personal family from my mother's side, because we have a history of having the first Urdu daily in the subcontinent. So this has been like a major thing for the family. And I realized, like, how ignorant I was. We even had like the President Yasser Arafat at our family home in India, and there's been like so many official visits, and the whole sort of cause was directed towards the PLO. And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I've been so ignorant, right? I've been so ignorant about like what my own family like gave their lives towards. They gave their wealth and they gave whatever, all their resources, and did whatever. So I realized, number one, my own ignorance, and ignorance is a crime. Right there, it's a crime. So the need to go deeper in my understanding and not just always like think that it's enough to shed tears, it's enough to cry, and it's enough to feel sad. No, it's not. That's a sort of that's happening, and that could fade. But to go really deep into the sentiment, to go into like the cellular sort of consciousness of the Palestinians, and it seems like they are representing like a collective, what can I say? It's like the collective illness has, come upon this organ, the Palestinians, this innocent organ of people, like, a body of people, and all the filth has come upon this pure body of people. And there's just like, oh my God, like there's nothing that is being witnessed that is not within us, right? And our tyranny, how we colonize, and how we are basically. So so for me, it's been not just witnessing, but and feeling, and alhamdulillah, like for the space that we have, the sort of space that allows that sort of poetic expression, or that written expression, which has been a great sense of telling for myself, because how we're processing, we can see it when we see it, when it comes out on paper or in the written form. So that's been in itself revealing. However, I don't want to make it about like, my ascension through them, because then it's just again back to another selfish sort of, a selfish reason to be a witness. So in our previous other spaces, we discussed, what is it we can do as individuals. So we took some guidance from, for example, Maine and Noor, who have Palestinian roots. So they gave us, a briefing as to what we can do. And we see that through through the many people out there who are giving us that guidance, and really appreciate that sort of guidance coming from individuals who are night and day with the situation, and also letting, giving us that sort of space to understand deeper. Yeah, it's a process. So I don't, there's nothing conclusive I could say, but definitely it's like there is no time to waste. And there is a strong calling that, if to really get into action. For me, it's like my way of processing is, what is it that I can do now? What is it that I can do now towards the collective, and give and serve, and that's how I've sort of, and there's like really no time to waste. That's how I feel, because death is right now the reality of the Palestinians, and here we are comfortable in our homes. We can eat, drink, walk about, have the presence of our family and our parents, and sleep with peace, and to take this peace for granted would be like another sort of thing to question. So what is it that I can do when I'm in my wakefulness, when I'm asleep? Where's my consciousness? I'm being watched by the all-seeing. And what is it I am doing with the gifts or the faculties that I have, the resources towards the collective healing? Because that collective healing essentially is necessary for the healing of, the very specific issue of the Gazans or Palestine. So it's like, yeah, what can we do right now? So everyone has to pull their socks up. That's how I feel. And I am complete in that because I don't know where I'm going with my expression.
Oh, you're right. Even yesterday, what they're doing is they are selecting the best of the Palestinians who are making an impact in the world. And wherever they are targeting them. And day before yesterday, they killed this writer and poet Rafat. And they said that he was a poet, and it is incumbent upon all the poets and artists that why aren't they dedicating their verses, because we are going to die and our art is going to remain. Where have we remembered the artists whose lives have been taken so unjustly? Why aren't we using our gifts? So we are going to die and we don't know how, but we have, if we have to remember those to so that the history is not, because we are not Palestinians, and if we keep they are destroying their history. We as outsiders, we have to embed the tragedy that the people of Palestinians are facing into our art. So they can destroy their history books, they can take away their poets and artists, but we as the witness, through the gifts we have, through the art and the poetry we have, we keep them alive. And this is like the least we can do. So if you see, if they are, even if they make the maps, they alter the maps, they alter the histories, then we see a whole global vibe. We see a global revolution where the artists from of the globe, of all around the world, they reinscribe, they retell the missing piece, that the alternative history through them, through those on the outskirts, through those who are witness. That was coming, and I'm complete.
What is the point of art if it fails to feel into the collective? What is the point? Is it art then? And is that person an artist if they're choosing silence at this time? So that's also something that needs to be checked. I mean, I was pretty shocked, you know, coming from Cairo, the art scene in every place is, you know, strong, right? And I feel that the artists are really vocal and they're not just going out and just doing their, you know, what's it called? What is it called? The protests, right? But the art scene is definitely on so many levels bringing about awareness. So that's very strong in Cairo. But I was very dismayed coming back to Saudi and equally being aware of what's going on here. It's quite eerie silence. And yeah, mine is just, I don't know, like I have yet to ask and say, like, you know, where is the art community now, right? it's through art that enlightenment happens, right? In the collective. And art is that portal. But if that if our if we fail through this portal and through silence and not really doing anything, then I'm not sure. So there's a bit of that sort of awareness too, but it's not really about looking around to see who's doing what and what's happening. It's just about, it goes back to you, like, what are you doing right now? What are you doing on the subtlest levels? What are you doing, meaning what am I doing on the subtlest levels? What am I doing on the level of action, mobilization, resources? It's not just awareness. There is a need for, sending aid, whatever, through the bodies that are involved in that effort. It's not just simply education. So that's another shadow right there, because some people are doing everything in the awareness factor, but then we need to connect to bodies who are literally on the ground and who have access to, providing meals and so forth. So if it means we have to rally up friends and family and, start utilizing wealth, not just doing the boycott and buying alternative products, but like, it's like, where are we diverting our wealth? Because there's a grand worship, there's a collective worship of money. And that's a very dirty shadow in the collective space. So yeah, it's important to find out who they are. We've done our research from Saudi, and obviously I'm not talking about any local organizations here because I'm totally unaware of that, but I know there are some organizations that are doing that. So that's something I asked myself, and everything counts. It's not necessarily like, the big amounts that some people, wonder, is it the impact? No, everything is an impact. So yeah, so everything, it's just basically everything is coming to play. There's a lot of shadow work happening. Maybe if we have something, if you'd like to share something that you have written already, maybe not right now, meaning not necessarily have written it now. We welcome that as well. Louisa, what do you suggest?
I'm sorry I got kicked out of the meeting, or my battery died. What was it that was said prior?
No, we were just thinking that, we shared, a little bit on, what we're sort of experiencing individually and collectively, and you were there. But as for right now, the topic is peace. And is there something that you have already composed, or do you have something that you'd like to share, or is there something, that you would like to reflect on, and we can have that as well right now happening, and then we can share that. So I just wanted to get your feedback on that.
Well, when we were thinking that, because of our what to say, struggles to express the timelines and dates and stuff correctly, we were thinking, okay, no one's going to show up today. I was preparing a little prompt instead, and that had me thinking of what are the things that are necessary for peace to be achieved. And of course, everyone knows like the kind of urgent or acute situations right now. But as you know, so many of you have reflected, it's like obviously this is an internal matter before it becomes an external matter. And I was thinking, like, what are the things that kind of, the prerequisites for peace, whether it's just like between two people or between nations. And I was thinking of a few things that I felt quite confident would be good, but then I'm not sure if I caught them all. So maybe that's something we could reflect on, because that I actually think is a valuable thought process to go through, like just working on myself, trying to find, can I create that effect in the world by becoming even a bit more peaceful, and not really even being sure how to go about that. So then, how would I even be able to take a stance on a global scale to, potential solutions? So I could share the few things I thought were kind of solid, and then I'd love to have the developments of that, but I don't know if you're down with that.
We're down with anything.
Okay. So I don't know, 3 is always like a nice number, and I went for 3 things, but there's probably more or less depending on how one sees it. But the things I found were like, okay, these for sure are needed for peace to exist. The first one that I thought is like crucial is forgiveness. And that I felt very strongly, like also on my own kind of experiential level. If ever there is conflict, for that to be resolved, there has to be forgiveness. And yeah, I don't know. Should we pen? Should we talk? How do we draw the most juice out of this?
We'll have to go to the well. I think I like the idea of prerequisites, because I mean, just peace in general is just so broad, right?
It is.
So in our world, what are the 3 things, 3 prerequisites that are necessary for peace, considering our own sort of environment, right?
So instead of me telling what they are, why don't we all think of 3 things and then we share and see? Yeah? Because anyways, I already said that I
Oh,
don't
you
know.
thought we would copy?
No, I thought we would,
Oh.
we would together, but then I'll already have, influenced the thing by telling my opinion. So
Oh,
instead, why don't we,
sure.
good.
Let's do that. Don't
5
project.
minutes to come up, 5 minutes to figure out peace.
Okay. That's sufficient time. Yeah. Whenever you all are ready, we can, inshallah, share.
Yeah, we had to just share three points, right? Okay. So Louisa already laid the ground for forgiveness. So I also begin with forgiveness, and then acceptance and surrender to divine will. And then the other point is unity consciousness, that all is connected to one source. And the last point is love.
Would you want to just put your points in the chat so we can gather them? Present this to the UN after the meeting is over. No, I shouldn't joke about that. But seriously, though, I mean, it's really valuable.
No, UN is a joke.
Yeah.
They're superlative joke by superlative degree holders and position holders, proving that all their labels and positions are just scrap. And this
Yeah.
whole method of UN is bullshit. And I was also like put for the, I was given the position for training as MUN Secretary General, and my heart was like, I don't believe in this thing. And I just left it. And now it's just proving itself to be nothing but a joke. They're just putting all puppets in place. But the few voices of those Palestinian, like Musa, there's just Palestinian representative have done a spectacular job and their speeches should be transcripted, and also because sometimes listening to 12-minute long speech is hard for someone. So I was thinking that we can also take the best ones by the Palestinian representatives and share them on blogs as written words so that they remain in the annals of history. Other than that, UN itself is a mock. So yeah, I'm going to type the points. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. I just want to start by reading out one quote by Professor Rifat Al-Arir, who Mehtab was talking about a little while ago, the poet. This was from a video that he posted maybe a week before he was killed. And he said, "The toughest thing I have at home is a marker." So yeah, I thought that was really powerful. So I have more than three. That's okay. I started off with three and then we had more time, so I wanted to go deeper, and then a few things came up. So my first initial three were acceptance, respect, and empathy. And I thought of acceptance as saying, I accept you as you are. And respect as saying, I respect you as sacred. And empathy is saying that I feel your pain. And then I still felt like there were deeper layers to go into. And then one thing that came up for me was vulnerability, because I feel like sometimes that is like the opposite of power. And I feel like there's this, when I see these, entities in power, they just want more and more and more power, And I feel like what's maybe needed is a bit more vulnerability and allowing ourselves to be seen, And for true acceptance, I think vulnerability has to be there in the first place. So allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, that also came up. I thought of love, and then I kind of questioned myself, because at times I feel, for me internally, love is maybe not peaceful at times. Yeah, those are my sharings.
Thank you. Also, Madiha, if you want to, post them into the chat or wherever, I don't know, like, can make a collage out of them or something. Did you come up with anything, Alicia?
Why don't you go ahead?
No, you first.
No, you tell me. You go ahead.
Okay, I will surrender and accept. So I also had a lot of different things coming up. And quite couldn't keep it to 3, but sort of, because I wanted to kind of practice that narrowing down thing. But I kept the forgiveness there because I guess this was from a point of conflict, not like from just in general how to maintain peace, maybe, but also, I guess. But if there is something broken, there has to be the capacity to forgive, to even move further than conflict. And I think the next step from there that I kind of saw as necessary for peace would be, and here I debated a bit, is it reconciliation or is it justice? Because there has to be the sense of, maybe this is some kind of acceptance too, but it's like we are equal again in the sense of how we exist, how we coexist. And I had to think, like, what does justice mean? Like, is it the old an eye for an eye thing? If you've bereaved me of my leg, then I will cut yours. Like, is that justice? How does one come to justice after losing, one's, if one hasn't died oneself, then like losing one's life in other ways. Like, how does one feel that there is justice? And then maybe reconciliation is a better thing. So is that reconciliation with one's creator or with the other? And I don't know, like, I don't have the answer for what that means. But I do think there has to be a sense of not being bitter and not being grudgeful, because that does not equate to peace if you feel like you still have something you want to avenge or to inflict that same pain on the other. And then the last thing, which I also the term unity consciousness kind of, took like a duck that lands on water and then goes off again. It kind of did that in my mind, but then I thought what kind of explained it better for me in my head was the desire for unity, the desire to be one with the other, the desire to be in proximity with the other, because if we don't have that, then like we lack all the, like, where's the motivation to work for understanding or to work for resolving things where we think differently? Where's the motivation to forgive or to reconcile? Like, if we don't want to be together, then what's the point? Then we can just live separately. So those were my three, but still they're lacking without the other stuff. So I want to hear Alicia's.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for sharing the necessary. Bismillah. What came to, I would say, heart first and foremost, in terms of the requisites, is that I just reflected on you know, this the requisites, and definitely qualities must be activated within ourselves. There's no doubt that's a given. Embodying those qualities or attributes that would serve as prerequisites to be part of peace as a whole and individually. And the attributes I'm speaking of is divine attributes. However, what came to heart was none of this. And it was just three things specifically. It was heart, mind, and soul. That's it. If I am at peace as a human being with my heart, with my mind, and with, you know, this eternal soul, then only is there a chance for peace in my world. Because if I'm out there, you know, doing all the necessary, let's say according to the lists of the recommended and whatnot, even the embodiment and you know, forgiveness, justice, all of that. But if I'm not just to my heart, and if I don't forgive myself, and if I'm not like literally practicing that for me as a, like on a personal level, there's nothing that's going to work. And that's how I see it. Nothing will work. And yeah, it's simply, that's how I'm seeing it. So I'm just gonna selfishly go back to me and make sure I am at peace with my mind, heart, and soul all the time. And then only will I understand and be able to like be a practitioner of peace. That is all.
Well, I mean, is there any nobler goal for your life? That sounds like pretty much the project.
Yeah, basically. Path is inward.
Where was it? I mean, obviously it was on Instagram, but like from where was it that I read this thing about this guy who said, you know, he wanted to change the world And then, you know, he realized he couldn't do that. Then he wanted to change his city. And after a while, he figured that's not possible. Has any one of you heard that? No? Then he goes on to say, you know, oh, I couldn't change my city, so I wanted to change my house. Figured I can't do that. And then in the end, he said, okay, so then I'm going to focus on changing myself. And then it came like full circle to saying if you would have started with focusing on yourself and changing yourself, you could have changed your house. And then if you changed your house, you could have changed your city. And if you changed your city, then you could have changed the whole world. But this had some Sufi connection. I just don't remember who I should attribute it to. But
Well, you gave us the summary now.
I did.
Sufis just keep claiming all of the stories are theirs. So it's just probably in the collective regardless. And then because we talk about Sufism so much, you're just thinking it was a Sufi story. Maybe it's just a heart story. Being recycled over the centuries. Different name.
Then I even thought, you know, when he came to the point where he said, okay, I'm going to change myself, I felt very helpless and I felt very like, you know, do I have the power to change myself? Like, who am I to change myself? Can I do that? I did not make this. Like, how am I going to change it? It's just like, it seems like, you know, on a microcosm level, it is the same task as changing the universe.
Colonialism change. Why don't you just honor?
So that would mean, you know, equally on the larger perspective, and this is also something I've been thinking of, like how does one not become nihilistic in that kind of a thought process? If, you know, if we only honor things as they are and we see things in a larger perspective, and like some people, you know, are only awaiting a savior, or they're awaiting, you know, the afterlife and justice there. And then how don't we just become passive and like everything will have its course and I'm just a, you know, peaceful observer of everything taking place within me and outside of me? This is what I struggle with. I didn't comment in the beginning when you were talking about it, but I think this is one of the big struggles right now, which is like some people take to the streets, some people, you know, write their MPs. For example, the guides, as far as I've seen from the Naqshbandi order, are saying don't go demonstrate. That's not the right course, like make dua. My tantric teacher always said don't get involved in politics. Like, it's not a battle you're ever going to win. Like, it's always going to be on a level that's not, I don't know, can't affect it. You can't affect like the big changes through that kind of an instrument. But then again, like just doing nothing also feels very weird. And then I think it's a very narrow road where we don't become super passive and also don't become agitated and aggressive ourselves. And I think that's been my challenge, to not get sucked into the horrors and become hateful, or like just this, because I've also seen people comment how they don't sleep, they don't eat, they're just like living in that reality themselves. And in this day and age, we have like access to not only one atrocity, we have access to like several continents at the same time. We can tap into the consciousness of like millions of people at the same time.
May I share something that came while you were speaking? This is a saying of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him and his family. And it is on the subject of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahyan al Munkar, enjoining good and forbidding evil. So based on what you posed, do we just honor? It's true, like that's a valid question. It can't just be honoring and then there's no call out, like there's no requirement to change, then we'd have like a lot of
Helen.
hell on earth, basically. So here it is. The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whoever among you sees evil, let him change it with his hand. If he is unable to do so, then with his tongue. And if he is unable to do so, then with his heart, and that is the weakest level of faith. So we've been given 3 levels right here that were defined in this mandatory requirement as a believer, because there is multiple verses in the Quran that highlight and emphasize the need to enjoin good, forbid evil. And that's how you establish justice, because you're asked to establish justice, not peace cannot be so without the establishment of law and order and the necessary. So yeah, it is. And I see that happening on, it's actually this sort of activation is happening so large on a collective, because you have people coming out of nowhere and people are speaking out, possibly even for the first time, vocalizing, calling out, bringing that awareness and doing whatever they can. And the voice factor is very high right now in the collective, because we can't technically go and physically do something, but the power of sound is being activated in the collective. So there is like a massive sound healing and effect right now, because that's what's happening. Where are we getting our information? Through sound, through somebody channeling voice and telling us, and then you have people talking about it and so on and so forth. So the weakest is just resigning to thinking of like a no action mode. That's the weakest. So we are not, this is not the way. This is not the Tao or the Tao. To just be.
So what do you think these calls to not join protest, for example, what do you think they are sourced in? Because I would understand, that tendency that I see in myself, that it's easy to get caught up and get angry or get agitated. I would understand that. But then how does this go together with speaking out?
What was the initial question about the protest? Sorry.
Yeah.
What was it?
How would you interpret that call to join protests, for example?
Okay, so for me, any sort of guidance that comes from the guides, right? I seem to always like interpret in a way that's not like the normal way. So first and foremost, I don't believe it's like a ruling that is flat out that do not at all go to protests. It's almost like they're saying, do not make that your sort of go-to to pacify yourself that you're doing something, because there are people literally probably just, looking up where's today's protest. But that inward journey, avoiding that and just going outward is what the guides are telling us. So they're not anti-protest, because technically the protest, to me, how I've seen it, is mirrors the Hajj, the pilgrimage, whatever, whatever sacred tradition. When people come together and they migrate towards a specific location, and they come in numbers, that itself is somatic. That's powerful. People in numbers, the visual effect of that, you see when you see the protest. Like, honestly, when I was in Turkey, I was just passing by, the Fateh area, and there was a group of protesters, and I literally was feeling the energy within. There was like this kind of effect, and they weren't doing anything but simply just saying whatever in Turkish. They had their flags. There was energy felt there. So I think if that's what we are just deducing resistance to, just going out to protests and protests and protests, and who are we speaking to? There's no even government body there listening. They don't care. There's like that happening. So I don't think it's a full against protest. It's like, don't make it your go-to thing. If that helps you to just feel that you're part of a collective, to attend a protest, but I don't think it's required to make it, because it's very clear that there's no governments listening to any of the protesters. It's like you're going and just speaking in the air. It's like this, you're just showing up. And for each other, I think that sort of sense of unity. Okay, there's a lot of people out there. Okay, good. Next, go on. What is it next you can do? I think that's all they're saying. Don't get lost, or don't get so caught up in the protest thinking you're doing something great just because there's 1,000 and 10,000 people appearing. I don't think that's not like it's, I think it has to be a balance. So I don't take it as like a blanket statement, don't appear. But I don't think it should be a routine, is what they're really emphasizing. Because that's also falsely pacifying yourself. Because all you're doing is going out there shouting and screaming, or just showing solidarity towards this same thing. But if that's going to happen daily, and when you go back home, you just go back to things and you just go back to the screen and start crying, where is the prayer? Where is the inward, what you said, Madiha, right? Connecting to rituals, connecting to the sacred. We are supposed to go inward at this time, because clearly, no matter what all of us or the collective is doing, can't really say there's no impact, but like, nobody's stopping Israel from doing what it's doing, no matter what. So redirect our hearts towards the one who is the ultimate creator. Are we doing that? We might be doing everything else. So maybe that's what they're just saying. Go inward, connect. I think that's how I understood it. Because if I was to go to something just tomorrow, I don't think that'd be an issue. The end.
And they're also saying, do not create an apocalyptic rhetoric. It was, I think, in previous subhas, they're saying the order to launch, because people are becoming apocalyptic, their narrative is also being construed. So I will also share the subha again. So said that our order to just go out there and with a war mindset has not yet been ushered. You have to ground yourself and root yourself. I'm paraphrasing what I understood. This is through my personal filter. So that what they are saying, that don't take part in protest, is because there are people coming with the intention that they are, contributing to some apocalyptic effect, right? So So that is where they're saying, because it's so easy for the minds to flip to that context. So that's why they are saying that.
Thank you. It's very, very true. Because that too can become a scapegoat, right? You're just like, oh, you know, we're waiting for the savior, and then you're just like not doing anything but just sitting around all day watching the next reel or the next live or whatnot. And where's your action? That's that that itself. So there's like massive like shadow work in effect. But it's good to be in the presence of guides at this time, because you can't just think that you're doing shadow work without the guidance of those who are probably more ascended than ourselves, right? That's key. So it's definitely like not a solo journey. You have to be in the presence. You have to like figure it out. You have to join with some cult leader named Baba or Dada. It's vital. It's vital for like this overall, you know, nervous system. Nervous system needs that support. So we wish to, you know, make the support we seek the enlightened one. So may we be plugged in or have the presence and the company of those who are, you know, operating through spiritual guidance and divine wisdom. It's very key.
And there's also like, if there's one narrative that we should not be contributing to the apocalyptic thoughts, but there's also that given the role of UN and all the world leaders at this point in time, it's like, instead of, you know, looking up to the leaders who have come to power, why are you not seeking the hidden imam? Why are we not, if the journey we have concluded is to come to the inward path, then we see the inward, the imam is also hidden. Why, if we have to go inward, then we have to plug ourselves with the imam, the imam of the time, and seek the guidance.
The Jesus
And there's
within.
also this beautiful quote that's coming to heart, that's like, the honor of the sheep is with the shepherd, right? And the guides are the shepherd. The imam is the shepherd at this time, because we are looking at wrong guides, at the wrong leaders. So the inward journey entails to seeking the hidden imam, and then, you know, succumbing to the just gathering and uniting and sitting and taking from the guides. So that's the nutrition of the soul that is required.
Interesting. Obviously, we can go on and on and on, and we don't want to, you know, do zulum on everyone's time, because you're sacred, and your time and your all that you need to do is necessary for the collective. So we don't want to steal that. But maybe just as an end note, in regards to a specific word in Arabic that is a requirement, you know, you said requisite, a requirement to, like a mantra, to say aloud for the collective, there is that one word. Okay, and you know what that is? Labbaik. You cannot go to Hajj, to the house of God or home, without the labbaik. So labbaik technically means here I come, or I've, you know, made myself present for you and I've made myself available. It's like the answer of Ismail, right? Going back to Palestine, right? Isaac and Ismail, two brothers, and we have problems there. What did he say when Abraham alayhi salam was called to, sacrifice his son, right? Sacrifice something that's beloved to him. That was labbaik. And technically, the descendant, his labbaik was, replaced with a ram, right? To see the readiness and all of that. The sacrifice or the necessary labbaik is necessary to have the to get things rolling. And then what happened, like, centuries later, the same person who was called the grandson, the great-great-grandson of Ismail was Imam Hussein. And he became like the sacrificial son. But labbaik is another theme that has really, really like come very strong, because labbaik is in every moment or in every day, let's say, we're going to be asked to serve or do, or there is some requirement of our presence. And are we saying labbaik? Because how can we respond to the call of the Palestinians who are saying, hey, where are you all? Is this it? Like, we just keep dying. They feel let down by the entire global community, by the Muslim brothers and sisters, by governments who are just next door with oil and power and everything. And there has been no labbaik from them. It's just utter, cowardice, right? So labbaik is a mantra that is like literally something we can even say until we actually embody it, even on the rosary. To say labbaik, like right now I'm thinking, what am I having to say labbaik to? I got to start preparing for this, supposed retreat plan, because that is the calling right now. I have to say labbaik to it. And then if other things come forth, I have to prioritize where the labbaik is. That's it. So for me, it's a day-to-day thing. Where's the labbaik for today? And yeah, so that's coming very strong, because Hajj is symbolic for the collective. It's a collective energy to show up, to physically show up, not just sit on our internet and show up. So there is a movement required in the Hajj, and there is a movement required in establishing justice. It just can't happen through articles and things. There has to be like a migration of the physical, like a movement. So that is it. So I wish the best to everyone in their journey. Are we complete, Louisa?
I believe so. Or for my part, but maybe Madiha or Mehtab have something.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe we could have a prayer, Madiha, to close this space from you. Anything that's coming into your heart. Really appreciate it.
I'll read out the invocation I had shared earlier, which Alicia was referring to. By the power of my heartbeat and rhythm of my drum, I invoke you now to see us as equal and as one. I invoke you to look at me and see yourself as me. I invoke you to see all lives as precious equally. I invoke you to see my pain as your pain and my freedom as your freedom, my joy as your joy. I invoke you to see through the illusion of separation. I invoke your eyes to open.
So we'll close the space now, and until next time, peace and blessings be upon everyone here and to everyone beyond here.